For decades, one idea shaped how millions of people planned their financial lives. Get a stable job, work hard, stay loyal to the company, and over time, your financial life will gradually improve. For much of the 20th century, this model worked reasonably well for many workers. Large companies offered long-term employment. Wages often increased with experience. Benefits like health insurance and retirement pensions provided long-term security. The concept of the stable career became a central part of financial planning. But by 2026, the economic environment looks very different. Stable jobs still exist, but the assumption that a single job can guarantee long-term financial stability is increasingly being questioned. This shift is not caused by one single factor. It is the result of several large economic and technological changes happening at the same time. Automation, global competition, corporate restructuring, changing labor markets, and rising living costs. None of these trends mean that traditional jobs are disappearing entirely, but they do change how risk is distributed in the modern economy. In this video, we will explore why the idea of job stability is evolving and why relying entirely on a single income source may carry more financial risk than many people realize. Understanding these changes is not about creating fear. It is about understanding how the modern economy works and how individuals can adapt their financial strategies to a changing environment. Let's begin with the first major shift. The traditional model of job stability for much of the 20th century. Many workers in developed economies followed a relatively predictable career path. A person would graduate from school, find a job at a company, work there for many years, sometimes decades, and eventually retire with savings and possibly a pension. This model was particularly common after World War II. Large corporations expanded rapidly. Industrial production increased. Labor unions were more influential in negotiating wages and benefits. Many companies offered defined benefit pensions that guaranteed retirement income. In this environment, job stability and financial stability were closely connected. If you kept your job, your financial situation often improved gradually. However, this system depended on several economic conditions that have changed over time. Globalization increased competition. Technological change accelerated. Corporate structures became more flexible and long-term. Employment relationships became less common. These changes began gradually in the late 20th century and have continued into the 21st century. Technological change and automation, one of the most significant forces reshaping the job market. Is technological advancement? Automation has existed for centuries. Machines replacing manual labor is not a new phenomenon, but recent advances in computing power, artificial intelligence, and robotics have expanded the range of tasks that can be automated. Earlier waves of automation mainly affected physical labor. Factory machines replaced repetitive industrial tasks. But modern technologies can also automate certain cognitive tasks, data processing, basic analysis, customer service, logistics, coordination. This does not mean all jobs are disappearing. In many cases, technology changes the nature of work rather than eliminating it completely. However, it can reduce the number of workers needed for certain roles when productivity increases through automation. Companies may require fewer employees to produce the same output. For workers in roles vulnerable to automation, long-term job stability becomes less predictable. This uncertainty changes how individuals should think about career planning. Global competition, another major factor influencing job stability, is globalization. Over the past several decades, international trade and global supply chains have expanded dramatically. Companies now operate in highly competitive global markets. Manufacturing can move across borders. Digital services can be outsourced. Remote work technologies allow companies to hire talent from multiple countries. This global competition creates both opportunities and pressures. Companies can access a larger pool of talent, but workers may face increased competition for certain roles. Jobs that once existed primarily within national labor markets may now be influenced by global labor supply. This does not mean domestic workers cannot succeed, but it does mean that the economic environment has become more dynamic and competitive. Corporate flexibility and corporate employment structures have also changed. In earlier decades, companies often maintained large permanent workforces. Today, many organizations prefer more flexible staffing models. These can include contract workers, freelancers, project-based employment, temporary roles, flexible labor models can help companies respond quickly to changing economic conditions. But they also shift more employment risk onto individuals. Workers may need to manage income variability. They may need to provide their own benefits, such as health insurance or retirement savings. This shift does not eliminate traditional employment, but it changes the nature of long-term job security. The rising cost of living, another important factor, is the rising cost of living in many cities and regions. Housing costs have increased significantly in many metropolitan areas. Healthcare expenses have also risen in several countries. Education costs in some regions have grown faster than inflation. When living costs rise faster than wages, financial pressure increases. Even individuals with stable jobs may feel financially vulnerable if their income does not keep pace with expenses. This dynamic can create the perception that job stability no longer guarantees financial security. The risk of single-income dependence, one of the most important financial lessons emerging from these trends, is the risk of relying on a single income source. If a household depends entirely on one job, unexpected changes can have significant consequences: job loss, industry disruption, health issues, economic downturns. When income sources are concentrated, financial risk increases. Diversification is a concept often discussed in investing, but it also applies to income. Multiple income streams can reduce vulnerability to unexpected changes. This might include side businesses, freelance work, investments, generating passive income, skill-based consulting. The goal is not necessarily replacing traditional employment. The goal is reducing dependence on a single point of failure. Skills are becoming more important than positions. Another shift in the modern labor market is the increasing importance of adaptable skills. In earlier career models, a person might remain in the same role or industry for many years. Today, industries evolve more rapidly. New technologies emerge. Business models change. Workers who continuously update their skills may adapt more easily to changing labor markets. Skills such as problem solving, digital literacy, communication, and analytical thinking are widely transferable across industries. This adaptability can improve long-term career resilience, financial planning in a changing economy. If stable jobs are less predictable than they once were, financial planning strategies must evolve as well. Several principles become increasingly important. Emergency savings. Maintaining a financial buffer provides time during employment transitions. Continuous learning. Investing in skills and education can improve adaptability. Income diversification. Additional income sources can reduce dependence on one employer. Long-term investing. Building assets can provide additional financial stability over time. These strategies do not eliminate uncertainty, but they can help individuals navigate a more dynamic economic environment. The psychological shift, perhaps the most important changes. Psychological. Many people were taught that stability comes primarily from employment. But increasingly, stability may come from financial flexibility, savings, investments, skills, adaptability. Instead of expecting permanent job security, individuals may focus on building systems that allow them to respond to change. This shift requires a different mindset, one that values resilience over predictability. Conclusion: stable jobs have not disappeared. Many people continue to build successful careers within traditional employment structures. But the economic environment surrounding those jobs has changed. Technological change, global competition, corporate restructuring, and rising living costs all influence how financial risk is distributed in modern economies. The key insight is not that jobs are inherently unsafe. It is that relying entirely on a single job may carry more financial risk than it once did. Understanding this shift allows individuals to plan more effectively, to build financial buffers, develop adaptable skills, and create multiple sources of stability. Because in a rapidly changing economy, resilience often matters more than predictability, and financial resilience rarely depends on only one source of income.